Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea from Game Informer, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. As I mentioned last week, I have been on the road for a long time, so it has been a few episodes since we've had a chance to catch up on all the news. So that streak breaks today because we are going to have a big old news segment catching up on the biggest stories that we missed during that time. And then we are going to transition to our main segment, which is all about the final pre-launch trailer of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Joining me to do that and more is Game Informer's Kyle Hilliard. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. It's a good day. It's a Zelda trailer day at the time of this recording.
Yes, and I think you and I, spoiler alert, are very excited for that game. And this trailer kind of amped us up even more. So very excited to break that down with you on the second segment of this show. But we're going to jump right into this news, Kyle, because we have quite a bit of big items. I tried to make it so it was just like, here's some of the stuff we missed over the course of the time that I was traveling and unable to record timely shows. This is going to be a rundown of kind of the bigger stuff, the stuff that I want to talk about. So we're going to kick things off the old-fashioned way. It's some Pokemon news, and this is actually a more timely news story because Pokemon Stadium officially arrived on Switch Online's N64 catalog. And there is there are a couple caveats. One of the big ones is, unfortunately, you can't transfer any Pokemon into it. So the Pokemon Home or even your old Game Boy cartridges are of no use for this version, which is a bummer. But you can battle with the original 151 and participate in the mini games that people love so much. What are your memories of Pokemon Stadium on N64?
Pokemon Stadium on N64. I rented it quite a bit, a few times. And personally was kind of underwhelmed by it myself because I wasn't really playing Pokemon on the Game Boy games. So for me, it was really like if you excise that part of it, right? You're not bringing your own Pokemon into the game from the Game Boy games. Mm-hmm. It's not like a ton to Pokemon Stadium other than the charm at the time of seeing Pokemon in 3D.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much all I needed at that point. But yes. Once you dug into the content,
I wasn't quite as like hardcore Pokemon, so it was a little. For that reason, it kind of ended up being a little underwhelming for me.
Yeah. I mean, I do remember even as a kid being like, "Oh my god, this is what the Pokemon game should look like." Like, imagine having a full game like this. And now, of course, we have that. But back then, like that was the novelty. It was like, "Oh wow, like Bulbasaur looks like the Bulbasaur in the cartoon or whatever," you know. And seeing them play out all the moves and everything, it was such a cool novelty. But then, like, you got really into the content, and you're like, there's not a whole lot here. Unless you did transfer your Pokemon in. But even then, it was just like, you could just do battles. It's like, I could do that on my Game Boy. It just doesn't look as pretty.
Right, yeah. There's
like no RPG or anything. Yeah, the mini games are cool.
Yeah, those were fun.
I'll probably fire this up and play a little bit, but then be like, okay, yeah, I could just go play like Scarlet and Violet or Sword and Shield and have a better looking game and a full RPG to boot. So this is a cool trip down memory lane, but it's available now if you have Switch Online plus expansion pack, and that also means you can play online with friends. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I remember the other thing that was at the time was kind of a bummer for me was like the peripheral that they sold where you could plug in the Game Boy game into the N64 controller. I just assumed that was like a Super Game Boy for the N64.
What?
Like that you could use that to play Game Boy games on your N64.
Yeah. I remember like I still have my Super Game Boy, which I'm sure is worth a lot more money than I'm treating it having just sitting in a drawer. But
I remember. But then a friend told me who had it. It was like, oh no, that's not how it works. It just lets you transfer your Pokemon to the game. And I remember being like, really? Well, what's the point of that thing?
Yeah, it is a bummer that there's no like interactivity. Like I know that like they don't want people trying to transfer like, I don't know, Charge-a-Bug, some Pokemon that didn't exist prior to when this game came out. But like, there's no way they could let it interact with Pokemon Home, like when that's like a big thing that they've been pushing over the last several years. I don't know. It just seems like I wish that they could have done that, even though I know this is just kind of like, yeah, Pokemon Stadium is on this subscription service too. And also Pokemon Stadium 2 is supposed to arrive at some point in the near future. So that's, I guess, something to look forward to. I never actually played Pokemon Stadium 2. I was purely a Pokemon Stadium 1 guy.
I probably did, right? Like, I think it was one of those that I would rent. You know, I rented both of them. My sister was more into Pokemon at that time, so I think she was really into it. So we would rent it, and I would play with her.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good, like, friend game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so Pokemon Stadium 1 is out now, and then Stadium 2 is on the horizon at some point. Who knows when? I'm still shocked they didn't do that, like a surprise launch on Pokemon Day. It seemed like a no brainer, but what do I know? Pokemon is just printing money still to this day, and I'm not. So I guess they know better than I do. But Kyle, last week's episode was all about the Super Mario Brothers movie, so we're not going to talk too much about my thoughts on the film because if you want those, go listen to last week's show. But Kyle, I understand that you saw the movie last night, so I want to get kind of some brief thoughts from you on the movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Okay. It was fun. It's a movie where a lot of things happen for the sake of happening, without a lot of rhyme or reason. They're just happen to get you to the sort of fun looking Mario stuff as quickly as possible. Like
Mhm.
like there's a sequence where Mario meets Peach, and she basically immediately takes him to a training ground to train for no discernible reason. I don't know why she took him to train there, but it looked really dang cool when he started training. It's a lot of things like that, right?
Well, I mean, and minor spoilers here, but like the reason for that was Mario was like, "Hey, can you help my brother or help me find my brother?" And she's like, "All right, well, we need to see like if are you like good to be like on an adventure with me because like I don't know." It's a family movie, all right, Kyle. It doesn't need
Yeah, but
like
that's the other thing that I've that's right. Like a lot of people kind of go that it's for kids. It's like, look, that's diminishing like what kids want from entertainment. Like they are deserving of better things, and people have made incredible movies geared towards children. But I feel like I'm coming off more negative than I really am because for the most part it was like just like, oh, this looks so great, oh, look at that thing, I love that thing, that reference to Mario, oh, this is funny, this is a good performance, oh, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong is great, Charlie Day's Luigi is great. I love the basically when Luigi first landed in the, I guess he didn't land in the Mushroom Kingdom technically because the Mushroom Kingdom is just one part
mhm.
of this world. But
When he
like
emerged
that
from the
whole
warp
sequence
pipe.
of him getting chased by Dry Bones and then going into the the mansion, and like the really funny visual gag of all the Shy Guys suddenly being behind him, like that stuff's super fun, and like visually it was just great, and it was like I love all the sort of like little nods to just like every element of that movie is taken from something else. But it is it it's just light on plot and sort of reasons for things to be happening. They just happen, and
Yeah,
it looks great when they happen.
they do. I mean, it is an absolutely gorgeous movie. And yeah, I don't know. I have seen it 3 times now,
Yeah,
and I still had a good time with it on my third viewing. I don't need to see it again for a long time, but I'm glad it exists, and I stand by my review that I think it's a very very fun movie, and
it's
it's very respectful of the source material.
it's really funny because a lot of stories I'm seeing now are like people around my age or older taking their kids to go see it, right? And just like part of the charm is just seeing their kid like react to the movie and how much they enjoy it. And for me, it was funny because with my kid, it was almost the reverse. Like she could tell that I was really enjoying it. And after the movie, she was kind of like, "Dad, I could tell that you were like really into that. Like you really enjoyed that, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "What did you think?" And she's like, "It was okay." She's not a big Mario fan. Like she doesn't really play a lot of Mario games or anything like that. So it was
Fair
I had the
enough.
reverse experience than most parents. Is my kid got to see her dad get really excited about a movie.
That's hilarious. Well, Kyle, we have some news surrounding the Super Mario Brothers movie, as you might imagine, because that's the hot new Nintendo release up until I guess Advance Wars comes out, and then Tears of the Kingdom
Yeah,
after
yeah.
that. But first up, Super Mario Brothers movie has beaten Frozen 2 to secure the biggest opening weekend of all time for an animated movie.
God, that is wild. That blows. That is insane.
And it
To beat
wasn't
Frozen
by a
2.
little bit either. Like Frozen 2 had $358.2 million its opening weekend, and the Mario movie got 377.5 million in its 5-day total.
Jeez. Okay. Wow. Good on you,
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
I wonder. I think about this because Shigeru Miyamoto is a producer on the movie. he's probably going to make more from this like than he ever does from any hit Nintendo game, right?
I mean, I didn't even think about that, but that's
Like
probably a very good chance of that.
because he's from what I understand, this is all just as far as we know. It's not like he has a very respectable salary from Nintendo. They pay him very well, but he doesn't really get royalties and stuff on
Yeah.
games as far as I know. But here it's like he does get a percentage of the movie, so he's probably making more from the Mario movie than he has on any video game he's ever made. Maybe.
God, that's so weird to think about. But yeah, I mean, that there's not an insignificant chance that you were correct there.
I don't, but please, Miyamoto, just I love you. Just continue to make video games. Don't the attraction of Hollywood. Like, just let it, let that be a side gig for you, please.
I mean, he seemed still very committed to video games when I talked to him about a week and a half ago, or I guess almost 2 weeks at this point.
Yeah, but he hadn't beaten Frozen 2 at that point.
That's true. What did you think? And this is, again, kind of spoiler territory, but it's everywhere on the internet now, so you've been warned. But what did you think about the Jack Black Bowser song Peaches?
That was fun. It was funny. I like that he calls her Peaches. That was charming.
It is charming. I don't know where it came from because, Peach is already kind of a cutesy name, but, whatever.
It's cute. I like that they were, I'm assuming Nintendo was willing to let them sort of, like Luigi's called Lou at some point, which is kind of weird.
Yes, that really caught me off guard.
Yeah, but I liked that Bowser called her Peaches. I just thought that was funny.
So the where I'm going with this is the soundtrack is available now on streaming services, and Peaches is included on that. And that song has absolutely started blowing up. It's easily the most popular track on the 37-song soundtrack, and it even cracked the top 100 on iTunes at one point. And the song itself only lasts about a minute and a half, but
it's in the movie twice, kind of, right? Ultimately,
yeah, it's in the movie twice, and it's not in the top 100 anymore. But it's doing well elsewhere because I looked at the music video. There's an animated version that has more than 6 million views over the course of 3 days, and it was the number 10, it was in the top 10 of overall trending videos on YouTube as when I looked yesterday. And also, Jack Black put out a live action music video. I don't know if you've seen this.
I did see that. Yeah, it's very weird.
He put it on his Instagram, and it got over 5 million views in just under a week. And it doesn't stop there, because on top of that, Variety reports that Peaches is eligible for an Academy Award consideration for Best Original Song.
Well, yeah, any original song in any movie is. I mean, that's not.
I mean, I don't know like what the qualifier is or anything like that, but like that was a big like report that Variety had, was like, hey, like this is an exclusive that it is like eligible for Best Original Song.
That's an exclusive? Why is that? That's any original song is eligible.
Look, man,
like, what are they talking about?
I report on video games, not movies. I don't know if there's some weird caveat or anything that needs to be taken
you have to
into
put your song forward, because that was like the big thing. Like Disney, after Encanto came out, were sort of kicking themselves because they didn't put Bruno forward as their Oscar song. They put a different song forward. And then Bruno ended up being the runaway hit. But okay, I don't know. I'll have to go read that Variety story because I don't understand why that's interesting.
Maybe Illumination put it forward, or Universal put it forward.
Yeah, but even that's not interesting. That's
Look, man,
like we won an award. Why is that?
All I'm saying is that song.
To win something.
That song seems to be doing about as well as the movie itself at this point.
Yeah. Also, speaking of music in that movie, just no licensed music. Just get all that licensed music out of that movie. I was so bummed by that. I didn't want any of that in there.
I didn't mind the No Sleep Till Brooklyn because they were still in Brooklyn at that point.
I just don't like. Oh, you know what? Okay, you do make a good point there, because they are in contemporary Brooklyn. That's okay. But once they're in the Mushroom Kingdom, like, gosh, Brian, if only there was an amazing Nintendo soundtrack that they could have put in place of any of those licensed songs that don't make any sense to have existed in the Mushroom Kingdom.
That's one thing I wish I would have asked Koji Kondo when I was doing that interview with him and Miyamoto, was like, was it weird to see like your music put up against like this licensed soundtrack as well?
Yeah, that was just something that I was like, I think was it Take On Me started playing, and I was just like, what are we doing? Like, I don't want this.
Well, I saw somewhere that, like, I didn't see this clip, but I heard somewhere, I forget where I heard it, but like apparently there was an original cut of that with Donkey Kong Country music in it.
Yeah,
and it worked well. But they just do like, no, let's put Aha in there.
But that's also to be fair, that's like a something that bugs me about all animated children's movies, which I watch a lot of, fewer these days because my kid's getting older. But I don't like when they put sort of popular songs that parents know in kids movies, because it's just like that's all it's there for, is so the parents can be like, "Hey, I know that song." Like it doesn't. It rarely serves a purpose. And the bit of the "I Need a Hero" song playing while a hero is on screen doing something heroic is like, we're good, we're done, we did it.
I
We
feel like
don't need
that
to
is the
do it
most
anymore.
overused licensed song at this point.
Saints Row the Third did it the best, and that we're done. Thank you for playing.
So overall, I think it's a very good soundtrack. Especially the original score is awesome.
The original score is fantastic. All the Nintendo themes, I was like tearing up sometimes hearing like that
great.
orchestrated Mario music kick in. Like I loved it. I think that's why I'm so upset about the licensed music, because there was something better just in the wings, you know.
So not all of the kind of rearranged versions of the Mario music is on that soundtrack, but it is a very good soundtrack. I was listening to it a little bit yesterday on my phone because, like I said, it's on streaming platforms currently. But did you see that they're putting physical copies out, and pre-orders are available now on IM8-bit?
Cool, like vinyls and stuff like that.
So they have a few options here. So the options are double LP vinyl. There's a pink and yellow version that's exclusive to IM8-bit, and then there's the standard red and green vinyl. So there's two vinyls in there. It's $42. Then there's a 7-inch record featuring, you guessed it, Peaches, and that is $13. But the other side features the new rendition of the Mario Brothers rap. And then the soundtrack's also going to be available on CD or cassette for $20. So any of those pique your interest?
No. I'll just listen on Spotify.
Maybe I'll
don't
pick
really
up one
collect
of the vinyls.
physical. I do like physical games and movies, but physical music stuff, I don't engage with that. Not because it's fine. I think it's cool, but just not something I collect or am interested in.
Okay, I have a record collection, so I might pick up the vinyl. I do have a few video game soundtracks mixed in there as well. Most notably, Turtles in Time and Persona 5 on vinyl.
Yeah,
very good 5. Soundtracks.
I haven't really played Persona 5 much, but I love that soundtrack.
It's such a good soundtrack. But I have talked about the Mario movie enough over the last several weeks. So, Kyle, what do you say we talk about Sonic?
Yeah, the Mario movie does make the Sonic movies even worse, in my opinion.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about the Sonic movies. I was going to talk about some game news.
Cool.
So Sonic Origins Plus was announced, and that's going to come out June 23rd, which is Sonic's birthday, as well as 1 year to the day after the original Sonic Origins arrived. This version has Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Knuckles, and Sonic CD, just like the original version, but it also adds 12 Sonic Game Gear games, which are all the Sonic Game Gear games.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah, and on top of that, Knuckles is going to be made playable in Sonic CD, which was kind of like this weird exclusion that they had in the original version. And then finally, this is probably the bigger thing, Amy is going to be playable in the main 4 games for the first time in an official capacity, and it looks like she'll be able to use her hammer as like an attack. So that's kind of
what does that mean in an official capacity? Is this something that like fans have done previously?
I mean, I'm assuming there's a mod out there that lets you play as Amy, because there's a billion Sonic mods. Like the fan development community on the Sonic series is just intense. Like,
oh yeah, of course,
among the most intense I've ever seen in terms of like modding and creating fan games and everything. Like I have like 3 fan games on my PC right now that I want to play. But like this is the type of stuff that I want to get from these classic compilations. Like let me use different characters, let me have like cool ways to play these games that I didn't get to before. Make it all optional. So like if I want the original experience like Sonic Origins gives you, I can do that. But like I thought that was such a cool thing that you could play as Knuckles in like Sonic 1 in Sonic Origins, and now Sonic Origins Plus lets you play a whole new character, which is amazing. So that's the type of stuff that I want in these compilations. And unfortunately, there's been no mention of them getting the rights to the original Sonic 3 soundtrack. So I would probably bet that Ice Cap Zone, Launch Base Zone, Carnival Night Zone, I bet they still have the prototype music, which is unfortunate because all of the original versions are substantially better. And so the pricing is, if you don't already own Sonic Origins, it'll cost you $40. That'll be available both physically and digitally. And the physical version will include a 20-page art book. And then if you do already own Sonic Origins, you can get the digital upgrade for $10. Did you ever check this compilation out at all?
No, I don't really have a lot of nostalgia for that old school Sonic. Like I was a Super Nintendo kid, and so Sonic was just a thing played at friends' houses. So it's not one I seek out or go out of my way to play. Nothing against those games certainly, but it's just not. I don't really get a lot out of revisiting them.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I loved this bundle, even though there were some problems with it, and it seems like they're also going to be fixing quite a few bugs in this, even though they've also fixed some in post-release patches. So hopefully, like it continues to be revealed. Like there's better and better things about it, and I would
Mhm.
love it. Like it's kind of like a fantasy at this point, but I would love it if they like had one more trailer. They're like, we got the original soundtrack. Like that would be the ultimate. Like, okay, this is 100% worth the upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, you why not be as comprehensive as possible with something like this, right? Like
Well, I
that's
mean, some of it
its whole
is just
purpose.
tied up in so many rights battles
I
because I
know
mean,
it's
those are the
frustrating.
songs that uh, Michael Jackson was allegedly involved with.
Mhm.
So those are the three songs that have always been like, oh yeah, Michael Jackson wrote those,
Well,
and
it's not allegedly anymore, right?
I don't know. Like it's been such like a weird thing of like, oh, there's a new report that says this, and like but there's also like the Ice Cap Zone like beat is like ripped straight from like an actual song, so
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like that might have some copyright issues as well. So
I mean, a
like,
lot of those Sonic songs are, basically sort of workings of popular songs.
I mean, some of them are for sure,
I mean, a lot of them are. Yeah.
but Ice Cap Zone is especially egregious. Like, go listen to that, and I'll try and find the name of the song. I think it's "Hard Times"
Mhm.
is the name of the song. But it definitely preceded Sonic 3, so there might be some rights issues there. But I really like Sonic Origins. I'm excited for Sonic Origins Plus, but the thing that would get me more excited would be those songs. But we are at the place that we are at, and I wish that they were the Mega Drive versions, or the Master System versions. I'm sorry, the Master System versions of the Game Gear games, because then you'd get the widescreen instead of the 4:3 Game Gear screen, which has a lot of screen crunch. It would be great to
Mhm.
have the kind of the widescreen support there, instead of the kind of compromised Game Gear versions. But again, it's better than nothing, which is kind of my take on Sonic Origins soundtrack of Sonic 3. It's like, yeah, I'd rather have the original soundtrack of Sonic 3, but if this is the only way that we can get Sonic 3 on modern systems, then I'll take it.
Yeah, like the complaints are definitely like getting they're minor enough at this point, right? That it's like there's still something really great here.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with Sonic Origins Plus. And then speaking of Sonic, we have the first of three content updates for Sonic Frontiers available now. The first one is called Sights, Sounds, and Speed, and it adds a jukebox that features 13 songs, and then you can explore the world and find, I think they're called sound memories, and that you can collect up to 40 additional tracks, and they're scattered throughout the world. And then it also adds a new cyberspace challenge mode and a photo mode. And then update 2, which adds open zone challenges, new Coco versions, I guess, and then presumably around the June timeframe, because the other feature is Sonic's birthday, which, as I said earlier, is June 23rd. And then update 3 is the big one because that adds new playable characters and additional story stuff. So that's due out later this year. But I have not dived into the new Sonic Frontiers update, and it looks like you can actually find like classic songs. Like there was a screenshot where they were collecting Live and Learn. So I'm hoping that like that means like there's a lot of really like great classic songs from the Sonic franchise that you can now add to your kind of repertoire as you're running around these open zones, because that was always a fun thing to do. Like that was the best time with Sonic Frontiers, was just exploring the open zones.
Yeah, just running around. It felt
Yeah.
good to run around just long distances in that game.
Yeah, hopefully they keep building on that, and hopefully this update 3 is like really impactful. And then, I mean, my ultimate hope for Sonic Frontiers is that's what the foundation of Sonic games going forward are, because Sonic Frontiers I had a really great time with, but it was very flawed in a lot of ways. So we just need to keep iterating on this system because it's a solid foundation, but just needs a little bit of work.
Mhm.
And then we got 2 release date stories before we wrap up this kind of news catch up segment. First up, Super Bomberman R2 is getting a release date. And the first Super Bomberman R was a launch title for Switch, and I was not the biggest fan of it. The big
Yeah.
things that I had with it were it was a like laggy multiplayer, like literally it was like slideshow quality when it launched, and then the level design was just super boring. So hopefully they address that in the sequel. But this has various modes. They're saying quote, the largest content volume in series history, which seems like a weird way to phrase that, but okay, I'll allow
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
And then
Sure.
there's a new mode. So they said like, hey, there's a bunch of stuff we're bringing back for this. And one of the new modes though is called Castle, where it looks like you're divided into two sides. I'm guessing like one side is defending, one side's attacking, and you're trying to battle for treasure. And then there's going to be a stage editor for that mode as well, which I guess is a cool way to alleviate boring level design. Is just, hey, do it yourself.
Yeah, right. Oh, you think you can do better? Prove
Yeah,
it.
exactly. I mean, that's basically what they did. And that comes to Switch and pretty much everything else on September 13th. And then last but not least, Square Enix gave us a release date for the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster series, which how excited are you for this to come to consoles?
Pretty excited because I have never beaten 6. I have started it a number of times. I had even the Game Boy Advance version I had and never completed. And I'm not like committing. I'm not saying that this will finally be the time that I sit down and play it and beat it. But Brian, I'm pretty sure this will finally be the time that I sit down and play it and beat it when I have it on my Switch Lite.
If you really commit to it, I guarantee it will be, because some of the enhancements that they're doing for these versions in particular will almost guarantee that. So it's been available on PC and mobile since last year, and now it's coming to Switch and PlayStation on this kind of release wave. And they have these following enhancements. So first, you can change between the original and the rearranged soundtracks. That's a big plus. Sonic could learn something from that. You can also change the fonts, because I remember that was a big complaint a lot of people had with the original release, was like, oh, the fonts just look out of place. So now you can do the modern one or something that's closer to the original pixel-based font.
Yeah, that's nice. That's huge.
So the console versions also allow you to, at will, turn off random encounters. So they're like, if you just want to explore, we can turn off random encounters. But like, they even say in like the blog post, be warned, like this will affect your leveling, and like you will have problems if you rely on this too much. But then there's this option where you can cut down on grinding by turning on different boost features. And that basically allows you to gain experience up to 4 times faster than in the original games. So if you want to like do a little bit of grinding and then turn off random encounters, it sounds like you're able to do that.
That sounds fantastic. That
Right?
actually truly makes me think that maybe I could actually sit down and play this and finally beat this game.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would get so annoyed with in the past, and even recently I was capturing footage for it for a video that we did of Final Fantasy VI. I pulled out my my mini Super Nintendo, or whatever it's called, Super Nintendo Classic,
SNES Mini, I think.
SNES Mini, yeah, and like the random encounters are just, they're too frequent and they're annoying, because it's like I just wanted to go over there and see if there was a chest, man. Like, do you have to like jump on me right now?
Yeah,
Constantly.
I mean that's a problem with a lot of, especially old school RPGs or old school facing RPGs. Like it's just
Yeah.
like the random encounters are just tuned up to 11. Like I was just playing Final Fantasy X-2, and it was very, very apparent in that way. And yeah, I'm glad that we're kind of learning from that, especially with these re-releases.
Yeah, it worked well. Like Final Fantasy VII, I know, had where you could like speed everything up and you could click the thumbsticks to just get all your health back and stuff like that. Like, because it is just like it's perfect for sort of revisiting those old games. I mean,
And it's
and the
all
option to
optional.
play it the normal way is totally still there for you if you want it.
Yeah, and I know people are like, oh, that desecrates the original version. It's like, no, it's all optional.
Yeah.
Don't interact with it if you don't want to. It's the same way as like on the Switch Online, like there's the rewind functionality, and people are like, oh, well, that doesn't count as beating the game if you use that. It's like, yeah, just let people enjoy the games the way they want to.
Let people like things.
Yes, let people like things, let people enjoy things. Don't gatekeep. That's the other lesson to take from here. But anyway, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Series arrives as a bundle on Switch and PlayStation on April 19th. You can also buy the games individually. So 1 and 2 are $12 a piece, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6 are $18 a piece. Or you can just get the entire compilation for $75. And then each game that you buy before May 25th, you get 2 themed wallpapers. I'm guessing for the like the background, because like, you know, it has to fill out the screen somehow. So I'm guessing it's for that. And then if you get the complete collection, you get all 12 of the wallpapers. So I don't know, if you want that, then buy it before May 25th. But
you do that then?
yeah, I'm excited for this because I have not played. I've played 6. Or I've started 6 a few times and never gotten all the way through the end. I've never played the other ones. Like I started 1 back in the day because I got really into Final Fantasy X on PS2. And then I was like, oh, let me go play the older games. And I started 1. I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, there's if I'm being honest with myself, there's no world where I play 1 and 2, but 4 and 6, those I might truly play.
Yeah, especially with those kind of modernized options. Like that's the way to play these, I've got to imagine, unless like you have the time to devote for a large RPG. Like I just want to experience the story, have some fun with it, and you know, be able to say I've experienced it, even if it's not like the way the Lord intended originally.
Right.
So, Kyle, that is all the news that we are catching up on. Thanks for joining me for this segment, but you are not off the hook yet because we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we will be breaking down the final pre-release trailer of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We will be right back. We are back, and to be honest, it seems like Nintendo finally realized that the release date of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a month away, and people still don't really know what this game is, because over the last 2 weeks, we've gotten 2 trailers that contain more information than nearly the 4 years combined since its announcement. Around this time 2 weeks ago, we got the 10-minute gameplay demo from Eiji Aonuma, which resulted in us recording the first ever bonus episode of All Things Nintendo, and this week we got the final pre-launch trailer for Tears of the Kingdom. Kyle is still here with me, but first, as I've done with some of the other big trailers that we've covered on All Things Nintendo, we are going to start off with our live in-the-moment reactions. We are going to throw to that right now. What's up, everyone? Brian Shea from Game Informer, joined by Kyle Hilliard. Kyle, how are you doing today?
Excited for the 3rd trailer, final pre-release, what do they call it? Final pre-launch trailer for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
That implies the existence of a post-launch trailer, which I'm assuming will include an accolades trailer, probably DLC at some point, content
there'll be a launch
update
trailer, right?
Yeah, probably.
So, but it's just it's one of those things that the phrasing is weird, final pre-launch trailer, but it's like, okay, I guess I see what you mean. You weirdos.
Yeah, we're officially within a month of this game finally coming out. I still remember learning about it at E3 2019. I got to see the entire Nintendo Direct ahead of time as part of kind of like a media pre-brief session, but they excluded the final teaser, which was the announcement of the Breath of the Wild sequel. And so I found out about this game, the sequel to my favorite game of all time, as I'm on my way to an interview with Eiji Aonuma. So I was like, oh crap, like I'm about to interview the guy who's in charge of the entire Zelda franchise.
Yeah, I remember that, because I remember you, the way this would work sometimes is we would coordinate things. This is what I saw, here are my stories that are prepped, yada yada yada. And I remember watching it live and being like, I don't think they showed that to Brian. That seems like that would have been a big deal. That would have.
Yeah, I probably would have made a story about that. I would wager, because I remember I wrote all the stories for that Nintendo thing because I had got to see it beforehand, and then I think Suriel texted me and was like, "Did you see the Breath of the Wild sequel?" And I'm like, "What?" So I literally was on my way to that interview and I stopped and watched it on my phone before I went to go talk to the guy in charge of the entire series.
To their, not to give them a little leeway, I suppose, it's like they had to do everything they could to avoid that leak. Like it's just too precious. So I get it, but it's like, it would have been nice to know. It would have been helpful for us.
And it's funny because I looked over, Andrew Reiner was there with me, and I looked over at him, and they kind of like faded out in a weird way. Right. Like whoever was hosting that direct was like, "Thank you for joining us." It just kind of cut to black immediately. And I looked over and I was like, was that kind of like an abrupt ending? And he goes, "No, I think it was fine." And then I went and played Luigi's Mansion 3 and had a great time. And then later on, I was like, I knew it was something off about that. So this should start any second now.
Yeah, I was kind of hovering over this. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, all right.
Shut up, Brian. Shut up.
I'm Eiji Aonuma, producer of the Legend of Zelda series. There's just 1 month left until the launch of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. In this vast world that seamlessly connects the surface and sky,
It's curious
you'll
if we
be
can see how
able to
long this
enjoy
is.
using your imagination to the fullest while exploring.
Well, the trailer's only
It's
3
not
minutes,
long
right?
until
I
you
believe
can
so, yeah.
experience this unfamiliar Hyrule. I'm also very excited to see how you'll explore this world.
I feel like you know, Mr. Onuma.
Today,
How we'll explore
we've
it.
prepared the final trailer before the game's launch. All right then, let's take a look.
New music
Please
in the
enjoy.
background, right?
And not a whole lot of pomp and circumstance leading into it. Okay. Continuing the focus on the sky.
Fighting on their own, are they? This is very
Popping
reminiscent.
down a tree.
This is very reminiscent of the final Breath of the Wild trailer, just the way it's paced already.
God, that thing is gonna make, like, the skydiving aspect is gonna make exploration so much fun.
Ooh, new towns.
Show us a real dungeon. That's all I want.
I would actually like to see one, yeah. Just a glimpse. Learned a lot.
Desert.
Oh, we got some reverse no sound. Look at that.
Oh. Just take a stop short. Somebody's probably gonna screen cap that one single frame where, like, his profile.
Hell, I'll do it on the stream. Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
That's what they cut from Resident Evil 4 Remake. That's great.
Ooh.
Zelda, we rely on your knight and that legendary sword he carries. Our last line of defense will be Link.
Link.
Like, she's got a shield on attached to a weapon.
I love the.
Oh, weird.
Whoa, horse.
Horse carriage. We're like, whoa, horse
Yeah.
carriage. Whoa. What?
Okay,
A
the rocket.
ship? Slow motion leaping? Look at that. Oh, this is also from Resident Evil 4. Wow.
What? Titan battles?
Look at that thing.
Whoa.
I know why I am here.
Was that Volvagia?
It's something only I can do.
Do not look away. You witness a king's revival and the birth of his new world.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, let's go!
A lot of new characters here.
God, I love this rendition of the.
You are not alone.
Link,
Yes.
you are our final hope.
Oh, that was the shoot. What's his name? The dragon from the first Zelda, the multi-headed
it?
dragon.
Oh, nice. He was in another trailer, though, I think.
Yeah, he was kind of roaming, but like that was our first look at Link, like charging into battle against him. Oh, it's her post stinger.
Link! You must find me.
The call to action, they call that. Is there something after? No.
That's it.
All right.
That was great.
Yeah. I'm assuming we're
trailer.
going to do what you typically do on these streams, like what we've done with the Mario movie trailers, where we go back and kind of.
Okay, let's go!
volume there. Oh yeah, no, we can click through a little bit. I mean, it's
You witness a
there's a
king's
lot. There's a lot going on here,
We
man.
got the champions back, which is cool.
But they're also
Did we
look
know
like
they were
they're-
coming back?
Look at that. There's Mr. Ganondorf.
God, he looks great.
He looks cool. True, and it's like it's that. I wonder if that's like a boss fight in a dungeon. See, okay, so that's a really young character. Like the voice was like, oh wow, that's like a child, you know?
Yeah. Well, we haven't seen the children of that race since Wind Waker, right?
No, they're in Breath of the Wild. You
The
you
young
need
ones?
some.
Okay,
I
yeah, you're
think.
right.
I mean, now I don't have
think
the
so.
confidence I thought I did, but. And who's this? This looks like
Is that Hylia?
yeah. I mean, look at those ears.
Well, I mean, there is a character in those or the stone carvings that they uncovered that has those ears and has like kind of the markings, I think.
Also, her necklace there is Zelda was holding that in her hand. She's like a yellow teardrop. What is that from? I recognize that from something. Is that one of the Guardians or is that a new character as well? I don't remember all the Guardians' names.
Urbosa?
Yeah, is that Urbosa? Let's see. We don't have to get too.
So Gerudo for sure.
Yes, or is that the Queen? It looks like a young woman.
Might be.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I was curious about this because like these, some of the I have a little buckethead guy here. These are not. I don't think these are characters that are going to die in a in a cutscene. I think
Ganondorf will murder every single one of those characters.
Yeah, they're not over designed. Oh, look, you're fighting side by side with the.
Yeah, that's
Zora
what I was
there?
wondering when I saw that scene. Was like, can you like assemble like a squad to fight with you?
Maybe that's yeah. There's the three-headed dragon you were talking
Yes.
about. That's cool. Zelda has a haircut. It looks like, right? I mean, she's had her hair up like that since the original teaser, but I thought it was like braided. Really getting into some minutia here, but yeah, what a great
That's the
trailer.
Start like once not the full start, but like once we saw like, was that Ganondorf that we had with like the long flowing hair?
Let's see if I can find it real quick as I click through.
Because I don't think he had the long flowing hair. I mean, maybe it was some sort of like malice related. That's cool though. Diving through the laser grid.
Yeah. Let's see, and then they had. Oh, look, they got the pits in this. in
Okay,
the
so that
desert.
looks like a legit dungeon, right?
I think so. Yeah. Let's see. Soundtrack is
Right
great.
there, right there.
Ooh, yeah.
That looks
I
like a
don't
fire
know.
dungeon.
That's pretty big,
I mean,
right? It's a big. Well, but I mean, the dungeons in the last game were not this big. There were no dungeon that had a location that was this large indoors.
Yeah, but
'Cause it-
I mean, there were no caves really in Breath of the Wild, and that looks like it could be like maybe a dungeon that you get to or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think that we're gonna have dungeons beyond the divine beasts.
This is really cool too.
Yes.
Yeah, the laser grid. Some new stuff here. That looks kind of dungeony. Yeah, see, you got like regular people fighting with you here, right? They're like with makeshift armor and that kind of stuff.
In the way that I wish they fought alongside. See, there's like almost like a corrupted version of.
I don't know who that is. Is that a new race? Looks almost like
Zona?
cat-like, or
Zonai?
wolf-like. Oh, could be. Yeah.
Because like the Zonai are gonna play a role in this game for sure.
Yeah.
It's like all these like mechanical creatures are like Zonai architecture and Zonai creations.
And this looks like you're in Hyrule Castle.
Yeah.
But like not, dilapidated, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, okay, because I think there's going to be some elements of like past and present and future
Yeah.
coming into play. I mean, especially with the Ouroboros that has been in a lot of the trailers.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Is that? That is not her dad, I don't think.
I think it might be a past scene with Ganondorf, to be honest.
I mean, look at
'Cause
that.
it
that
sounds-
hand looks like the hand we saw in the teaser, the dried up hand or whatever.
Because I honestly like listen to the voice. It's the same voice. I heard that and I was like, because I hear a lot of people saying it sounds like Matt Mercer. That is Matt Mercer's voice. I'm reasonably sure.
Okay.
The just talking.
So she has some past history with Ganondorf, which she did in Ocarina of Time, you know.
Remember he betrayed them, and that's what Link did after Ocarina of Time, is he went back in time to warn Zelda of Ganondorf's betrayal.
Right.
Okay, wait, go back to where you can hear his voice.
Okay, yeah, let's see.
Right before that.
Is this where it was, I think?
Yeah.
He carries. Our last line of defense will be Link.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think you're right. I think it's not her dad, because the implication is like it's her dad, right? But this is cool right here. He's got a full-on shield attached to his sword.
I
which is
definitely
great.
missed that. That's cool.
Oh,
though.
what is that? There's so many things that are just like, what's that? What's that? I want to go there. What's that thing?
See, that also looked like a dungeon, maybe, or maybe it's just an elaborate cave system that exists. Because like Hyrule in Breath of the Wild is my favorite version of Hyrule, but it's definitely like it could be. There's room for expansion. Like there's very little in way of like subterranean exploration.
Yeah.
And obviously, like the skies are a completely new frontier in Tears of the Kingdom. So if they can take that original Hyrule that was in Breath of the Wild and add a huge cave system and add all the stuff in the sky, like, God, how much time are we going to spend exploring?
I love we
this
freaked out
version of this?
We freaked out at this a horse-drawn carriage that they used, with the Ultra hand to create, as presumably.
Yeah, because there's such green goo.
It's so funny how we're like.
Okay,
here we go. Reversing time mid-combat. That's cool. A freaking rocket ship. What is happening here? Because this is like a flying leap, right? It's like
looks like low gravity or something.
Oh, that's probably what it is. Yeah, looks just like a fun combat sequence.
Because it looked like he had like those platforms that he was jumping from place to place looked like they were affected by one of his runes.
Yeah.
Or like suspended by some sort of magic thing. So I'm wondering if it was like a low gravity area or like there was like an upwind or something that he could cast.
This I love. He made like a freaking mech. It's so silly. He's got a ring pop on his bow and arrow there. That looks.
See, that was what is that dragon
I
thing?
think that's an original enemy. Nothing comes to mind immediately that I'm like, that reminds me of blank. See this right here. What is that?
It reminds me of one of the things, the stones that you get, the sacred stones in Ocarina.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
It isn't, but
it's reminiscent.
Hylia has, or what the thing that we think is Hylia has it on her necklace.
Right. Yeah.
And if you look at the carvings, I'm trying to hold on. Let me bring it up here.
Let's see. Changelini says that's a kobold, like in the Sacred Tear and Skyward Sword. That's okay.
Oh.
From Calamity Nolan, thank you in the chat. Okay, I knew it looked familiar. I was like, that is in a previous Zelda game, but I just wasn't sure what it was off the top of my head.
I'm just trying to find a high quality version of this image. It's very annoying.
Yeah, but let's see what else I mean, there's a lot happening. This is a great final trailer. Just a ton of stuff, tons of like crazy powerful Lynels. Like there's just a lot.
So look at this.
It's wild.
I just sent you something on Slack, Kyle.
Let me see.
It's an image.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like it has the tier amulets plus something that looks like that creature that we saw.
Yeah. Sorry, I would pull it up on the stream, but I'm disconnected from Slack. But yeah, great trailer. I mean, my favorite trailer so far, I think. But that kind of like is a gimme, considering it's like the last big one. Of course they're gonna pull it all out for the final one. Same with the Breath of the Wild. The trailer that came out in the same time frame was like the one with Zelda crying in the rain and stuff like that. So, good stuff, man. There's a lot in there to take in. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on this game. Less than a month away. That's hard to think of. Like,
yeah.
And I'm actually surprised that like we didn't come back and have Aonuma tell us like one little thing. Typically the format they've used.
But yeah, I mean, what else did they need to say? It speaks for itself, really. Ultimately.
Yeah, it was a mic drop.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, anything else we need to cover before we sign off here?
No, I don't think so. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Game looks great. If everyone, I don't know if everyone's surprised or what, but yeah, I can't wait to play. Very excited for Tears of the Kingdom, of course.
We are back, and Kyle, I wanted to start off by asking you how you feel now that you've had a few hours to digest your initial thoughts on the trailer.
How do I feel? I mean, I still kind of a little over the moon. Like, I really like that trailer a lot. Like, the one sort of negative question mark thing I could say about it is it this is so specific, is it basically follows the cadence of the Breath of the Wild trailer that was so stellar many years ago, where it was like, you know, landscape shots, quiet music, and then, you know, montage, a little bit of a story tease, a weird gameplay thing, what's that, a little bit of a story tease. Like, it followed the same structure. But that's like, that's not a complaint. Like, that worked really well then. It worked really well here. It's I've watched it a few times since, and yeah, I'm still, man, it looks great. It's a great trailer for a game that looks like it'll be great.
I'm taken aback by how dense that trailer is. Like, I've watched it a few times since we recorded those live reactions as well. I've just kind of checked out some general like sentiments that people have, and it's like everybody's just like blown away by how just jam-packed with stuff and how much action and how much stuff is just flashing in front of your eyes, how many questions this posed.
I mean, every element of the montage, right, where it was like every shot was 2 or 3 seconds of like something. It was like every single one of those was like, oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Sorry, I sneezed. That's how excited I was.
Bless you. Well, I don't know. There's so many questions that have come up from this trailer of like, oh, I did not have any idea that this was A, possible, or B, a thing. Like when he's jumping from like platform to platform with kind of like low gravity, it seems.
Yeah.
Or like the skydiving through a laser grid, like it's Mission Impossible. Or I don't even know, like the water spheres that he can swim in and then jump from sphere to sphere. Like it's a weird like Kirby's Return to Dreamland level.
Yeah, there's like a Death Star floating in the sky with like a big hole in it for you to drop into.
What is the thing that I think that like you would say caught you off guard the most, or the thing that raised an eyebrow the most with you?
Well, geez, Ganondorf appearing properly. I really thought that would have been something they would have held close to, just wouldn't have ever shown, right? Like, you don't see Ganondorf until the game's out, which is how they did Wind Waker. They did not reveal Ganondorf's design, if I remember correctly, until after Wind Waker launched, right? I could be wrong about that, but I feel like I never saw him beforehand. And it was funny. I think you can listen to our reaction that you just heard or watch it on Game Informer's alternate YouTube channel. But like the weird thing that like made me like raise an eyebrow and go, whoa, oh, weird, was when Link was pulling a cart with his horse. Like, I don't know why that stuck out to me as I don't know why it stands out, but it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, right, yeah, you can make vehicles. Oh, yeah, Link rides a horse. He could pull vehicles with the horse. And then I think it was also the combination of like, and there are characters sitting in the cart. Like, which was like every shot in that trailer did really well too. It's just like, what's happening here? Like, how does this work? You know?
Yeah, like the mech combat that appears like it's about to happen.
Yeah,
like,
right.
What is going on in this game? Like, I
in a
really
good
feel
way,
like,
to be clear, if that was
100%. Also, speaking of getting a good look at Ganondorf, I just sent you something you may have missed on if you check your Slack.
I did. Yeah, I did see this. Yeah, Brian sent me the official Ganondorf art that Nintendo shared. Yeah.
It's not on their press site at all, and I was just like on Instagram during lunch, and I was like, "Oh, they put out
just
an
a
official
tweet.
art."
Yeah,
and so like it's he's looking good. I think this is one of the better looking Ganondorfs that we've gotten. Not that there's ever really been like an abomination of a Ganondorf, but like I don't know. I think he looks really good. He looks like he fits in this world. Like I thought that was something that I initially struggled with. It was like, how are they going to make a Ganondorf that looks like he would fit in with this like style of character?
Mm-hmm.
Because Calamity Ganon was such like a freakish, weird monster. And then
beast, yeah.
Then we got the giant beast Ganon, and it's like, all right, well, how do you take those elements and make it into like a character that is like a human character, right? And I think they did a good job.
Well, I mean, they did have the Gerudo. in
Yeah,
the
but
game, and he is a Gerudo, so like you kind of had a basic idea of like how he would fit. But yeah, the other thing in retrospect, the retrospect thing, like looking back on the trailer, is, and it was something, shout out to my buddy Aaron Blevins, who's like loves Zelda as much as me, and we were instantly texting back and forth about this. Is there was an early shot, which I think if you listen to our reaction, our comment at the time was like, oh, they're not going to show Ganon, because you see the back of a head of like flowing hair, and then he turns to the left and the camera cuts,
Mm-hmm.
and then later in the trailer they show Ganondorf like full face, like
He
there's
doesn't
no
have the
question.
hair.
And now the question that has been raised, and I tend to agree with people on the internet who pointed it out, is that first character with the flowing red hair that we didn't see is not Ganondorf, but is Demise from Skyward
That was kind of what
Sword.
I came to as well.
Yeah,
'cause-
which is like an interesting and exciting thing.
yeah. 'Cause, I mean, has Demise really appeared since Skyward Sword?
No. Mm.
It's only been Ganondorf as kind of like, and Ganon is like the manifestation of what Demise represented.
Yeah, it's tricky because like Demise isn't. He's a red-haired boss that you fight at the end of Skyward Sword, but he's not Ganon. He's not Ganondorf. He's like a different type of evil, sort of. He's like more of a manifestation of evil as opposed to like a character with attributes.
I'm trying to look up if we included Demise in our ranking of the best Ganons. I feel like we
I
might
mean,
have
he
skipped-
technically doesn't belong on that list, right? Like,
he is not on that list. I'm looking at
Yeah.
it right now. What do you think is number one?
probably Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time.
We put Ganondorf from Wind Waker.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I'm not upset about that.
Ocarina of Time's number 2, and then Breath of the Wild is number 3. So I think we
Wait.
just did it by game. So it was like,
okay.
because Ocarina of Time had both Ganondorf and Ganon. Wind Waker just
I
had
suppose,
Ganondorf,
yeah.
and then Calamity Ganon and Dark Beast Ganon in Breath of the Wild. So go to GameInformer.com and search for the best Ganons ranked on that website. It's a good website, so you should go check that out. But I'm assuming we'll eventually add the Tears of the Kingdom Ganon into this list as well. But yeah, anything else we need to talk about? I mean, people heard the live reaction. We're still super hyped on this. We've both watched it several times in the time since. I have no idea what to expect from this game at this point, because there's just, they keep throwing stuff at us, and it's like, all right, you can craft your weapons. All right, you can build vehicles. Okay, now Link's platforming and riding in minecarts and fighting enemies underground in minecarts, like Indiana Jones style, like side by side minecarts fighting.
yeah. I think the one fun element is like, kind of ultimately, we still don't really know a ton about it, you know, which is very exciting.
It's very, very enticing that we're still a month away from one of the biggest, if not the biggest, AAA release of 2023, and there's still, like, we know it feels like maybe 3% of what this game even is.
Yeah,
and that's such a refreshing change of pace for how so many games are marketed these days. And movies, to be quite honest. Like movies, I've tried to avoid watching movie trailers nowadays because of, like, they just tell you too much.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that Tears of the Kingdom is still looking absolutely incredible, and I can't wait to play it in just under a month. So we are going to take the final break of this episode, and when we get back, it is the grand return of Definitive Ranking and eShop Gem of the Week. We'll be right back. We are back, and it is time for Definitive Ranking, a recurring segment where we take a Nintendo topic and give our personal top 5 lists. Since the Super Mario Bros. Movie features such an extensive Mario Kart sequence, and we haven't done this segment in a long time, Kyle, this week I'm asking you for your top 5 Mario Kart items. So start at 5, count down to 1, and give me a little bit about each.
Okay. Number 5 is a lame one that is totally disappeared after the first Mario Kart for good reason. But I still kind of liked the feather in the original Super Mario Kart. It was just a weird thing. I never really fully figured out how to take great advantage of it. But I just liked that it was like, oh, I can jump. It's like Mario, you know?
And you got good news for you, because it's in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's battle mode.
What does it do? Does it just let you leap really
Yeah, you
high
can
in the air?
jump. So I think that the primary function of it is you can jump over like incoming attacks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
And
never,
so
I
they were
never
like, oh,
really got
that's
into the battle mode. Yeah.
yeah, they were kind of like, oh, that's kind of useless in a race, but in battle mode, that's helpful.
Yeah. So that's my number 5. Number 4. So I guess my next 3 are ones that you get if you're playing poorly, right?
Okay.
So it's chain chomp, right? Like that one where it's it lets you like speed up and like chomp at everybody, for lack of a better term, right? And then let's see. Yeah, I like that's number 4. I really like the super horn actually. That was my number 3, which is it's great against the blue shell, right? It's cool that it exists in that way to let you counter the blue shell. But I also just like it as like a regular weapon too. Like I like being able to get close to somebody and just activate it and knock them out. But really, I think if you're smart, you just hang on to it. So I don't use it offensively that much, because if you get it, you're like, well, I just have to save this for a blue shell.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with that one, right? Is like you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm in first place. That shell's probably coming, so I guess just no more power ups for me for a while.
Yeah, I guess, or like maybe they let you use it twice or something. That would be the fix to like help you use it more. I don't know. Number 2 is the lightning, which has been around for a while. It's
Mhm.
another one that is gifted to you if you're playing poorly, but it really is like satisfying to, if you use it really well, you activate the lightning, and then if you're close to other characters, it's fun to just see them shrink and you just speed past them. Like it's it's always fun, you know. And then
It is.
my
I love
number-
that like when you run over the people, they like get flattened. Like
yeah,
if they're
yeah.
shrunk.
Because like I guess it hasn't been like this for a while, but sometimes you get it because you're in like way last place and you don't even get a chance to like meet anybody. Like it just lets you catch up to last place, which is like, all right, well, that's something. And then my number 1 is just it's boring, I think, but like the red shell, like just a single red shell. Just it's like the easiest to use. It's the one that has the most consistent like hit rate,
Mhm.
like you rarely use a red shell and don't get something fun in return of attacking somebody. And so yeah, I just like it. It's always a good one to get, no matter what place you're in. You're like, oh sweet, red shell, okay, that'll be helpful.
Yeah, I mean it's a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. Been pretty much overpowered since Super Mario Kart, but it's awesome when you get a red shell for sure.
Right.
So my top 5 list has I don't know, some overlap, but not actually, maybe not at all, because I did change it up a little bit. So that's kind of surprising actually. So number 5, it's the obligatory blue shell, but
Yeah.
it's at 5 because again, as you said, it's the one that you get if you're doing poorly, and it's iconic and it made an appearance in the Mario movie, but it's just like it's so annoying if you're in first place because there's only one line of defense, and that line of defense makes it so you basically you have to hold on to it and not get any other items. And you're lucky if you even get that line of defense. So it's annoying in that way.
Right.
But I'm not like one of the people that's like, oh, they should get rid of it. It's like maybe have like another way to defend against it as well. I don't know. Number 4, the Boo, because it's always fun when you're playing with friends and like you can tell they've been holding on to a power up and you can steal it from them. I don't know. There's something satisfying about that because you get their power up and also they're very annoyed.
Those are the best items, right? The ones that annoy.
Absolutely. Number 3, the Fire Flower, because you can just spam fireballs at people for like a very short period, and it's extremely effective if there's just like a group of racers in front of you.
That is nice. Honestly, I did not recall that one when I was thinking of my list. But that one might have been like on my number 5 maybe, because that one is really fun to get.
It's so fun to just like keep mashing the attack button and just watching the fireballs go off, and maybe you hit like 2 out of like the 10 that you throw, but
Right. Yeah.
it's effective. Number 2, the Boomerang Flower. And that is just, again, it's a fun power up to use. And it isn't the most effective, maybe. I actually bounced back and forth between the boomerang flower and the piranha plant for my number 2, but I ultimately went with the boomerang flower because I don't know, there's something fun about the way it like flies out and then comes back to you, and it just kind of takes, and it has a chance to take racers out on the way out and on the way back, and it's fun in that way. And then my number 1, this is the closest that we got to some overlap, but I'm going to do specifically the triple red shell.
Going for the triple specifically.
And because of all the reasons that we said about your single red shell, but it also has that defensive element to it where like you can just have like a force field of red shells. So it's defensive and offensive, and then fire them away when you need to. But in the meantime, hey, you have a shield of shells around you, and it's extremely useful.
Yeah, I guess the only reason I didn't go for that one is because like I feel like that one's rare,
It's rare.
and that doesn't, I don't know, because I don't get it as often. It like that was a factor for me for some reason that I can't explain.
Okay, interesting. I mean, a lot of those are rare if you're good at Mario Kart because
Sure, right? Yeah, I guess that's true.
if you're good at Mario Kart, you're probably not getting a blue shell or a bonsai bill or whatever it's called. But yeah, I mean, I very much enjoy Mario Kart, and one of those reasons is the items that you get. I also thought about doing the fake item block, but they haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, they got rid of that one, right? Because it's, I mean, I guess from their perspective, it's kind of like tricking another player, and it's
that's
probably
exactly
like,
what it's doing.
Yeah, like, and that's maybe that Nintendo kind of looks at that as like, yeah, no one likes being tricked. Like it's not fun to be on the other end of that, but it is fun when you see someone hit that thing.
But it's also nice that like if you just put it in the middle of the track, everybody's gonna be like, oh, that's a fake one because it's not like in like a line of 3. But then when you go to like, if you get a perfectly placed one, it's in like a perfect line with the other ones, or if you even lay it over top of another one, it's like, oh yeah, somebody's absolutely going to take the bait on that.
Right.
So I toyed with that one, but because it's no longer with us, rest in peace, I forewent it, foregoed it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not a contemporary Mario Kart power-up.
Correct.
Or item.
But yeah, so that's my top 5. So that leaves us with the final segment of the show, the eShop Gem of the Week. I'm actually going to take this one because I have one that I've been meaning to talk about for a while, but I just haven't gotten around to it on this show. That is Bad North. Have you heard about this game, Kyle?
This does sound familiar. I'm Googling it right now. Yeah, I think I've seen the sort of logo, but I don't know what it is.
So from publisher Raw Fury, who a lot of people know is a pretty good indie publishing house. And basically, like, it's like a real-time strategy on like a micro level where you're on this tiny little island and you're defending against Viking invaders. And you have to, on the Switch anyway, you use the shoulder buttons to select which troop you want to command. And each troop has different specialties. Like one of them might be a troop of archers. So it might be a good idea to position them on a higher ground so they can hit incoming invaders from afar. Or other ones have pikes so they can like kind of do more ranged stuff. Other ones have swords, so they're better with like once people are on the ground, you can get close combat. But it's really just managing where these squads go. And like as the fights happen, like they will take out members of your team and you can send them back into like a house in order to replenish. And that takes them off the board for like, I want to say like 15, 20 seconds, which is actually a pretty substantial amount of time in the middle of these battles. So you have to be very, very cautious about that. But then if you completely lose a troop, then that's just gone for good. So you have to manage the balancing act of, all right, is it worth taking this off before they get even more deplenished? And then you have to kind of go back and not have that troop for the rest of the time. Or, you know, it's just a lot of on the fly decision making and choosing troops and making sure they have the best positioning. And it's a lot of fun. I remember playing it at, was it GDC 2016, 2017, something like that? And being blown away by it. And I got it. And I don't like it quite as much as I did in that demo because like, I played it for longer on my Switch, but I still really enjoy it. And here's another thing that pushed me over the edge with recommending it right now. Normally it's $15, but currently it is on sale for $3.74. So that's something
Last
that's
time
worth checking out.
you called out something because it was on sale, which I'm grateful that you do. I really like it. I went and bought it. It was the ukulele game.
Yeah, you played it?
I play a little bit of it. Yeah, just like
It's
the first
fun.
couple levels. Yeah.
And like I said, with that, it's like, okay, well, this is definitely a callback to Donkey Kong Country, and it's a lot of people who helped make Donkey Kong Country.
That's
like
right.
Even David Wise and Grant Kirkhope are doing the soundtrack. So it's those are two eShop gems that I can recommend wholeheartedly to pretty much anyone listening to this podcast. But yeah, Bad North is the name of the game that I'm recommending this week. And yeah, Kyle, I think that's an episode. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
No, we hit Tears of the Kingdom. We hit it hard.
We talked a lot of news as well at the top of the show.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining me for this episode, for the catch up, for the Tears of the Kingdom final pre-launch trailer, whatever they ended up calling it, and for these final two segments. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Of course.
And thank you so much to everyone for listening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, throw All Things Nintendo a 5-star review and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to get any questions or comments in, you can get in touch with me at allthingsnintendo@GameInformer.com or hit me up on Instagram at Brian P. Shea. And you can also join the Game Informer community Discord, which is a perk for subscribing to our Twitch channel, even for just 1 month. Kyle, where can people find you online?
Twitter, which is, it's going great over there, Brian, let me tell you.
Yeah, I haven't been on Twitter since, I guess it was like
It's
January
so cool
or February.
there. There's so much cool stuff happening there.
Yeah, I saw
the
that like
future is bright.
I saw like the Doge thing is now like the official icon of
Yeah, I
Twitter.
think that's already gone. But look,
Okay.
yeah, I'm still there. Whatever. And
Every
then,
time I load it up, like to like look at like news or anything, because like every once in a while it's like, oh, this company tweeted this thing, and I'll go look at like their official tweet for it. I don't have an account anymore, so it's just giving me like neutral recommendations. The tweet algorithm recommendations are always just the worst people alive. And it's like, okay, well, this is reinforcement. I don't need to get back on Twitter. But yes, people can find you on Twitter and all those great places.
and go follow the Game Informer TikTok account, please. We're almost at 1,000. We're very close.
Yeah, go do that. We got reviews. We got other segments from our streams. It's a good old time over on TikTok if you choose to partake over there. But for All Things Nintendo, that's our show for this week. Thank you again for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time.